Welcome, listeners, to the Finance for Starters podcast. Your host, Michael Pfister, Wealth Manager.
And Austin Milot, Director of Insurance Sales.
So this week we're going to be talking about a topic that is very important to business owners, specifically partners of a business.
A buy-sell agreement or a buyout agreement.
And one thing I do want to point out is that a lot of business owners haven't heard of a buy-sell agreement. There's obviously a few, but for what we're going to be talking about, and you'll understand why, every business owner who is partnered with someone absolutely should know what a buy-sell agreement is.
This is something that is like day one necessity of running a business with a partner.
Right.
And I know a ton of people who don't know what it is, who have partners in their business and have never heard of it, don't know what it's for, have no idea about it, and this podcast is for them. So shout out for the business owners who don't know what a buy-sell agreement is.
Yeah, so we're going to educate you guys. Don't worry, we're not leaving you in the dark and just ending the podcast here. So, Milot, let's start off with, what is a buy-sell agreement at the bare minimum?
So a buy-sell agreement is a document drafted up with a lawyer and then funded with life insurance. Very simple. It's an agreement between the owners of a business. It does not have to just be two. It can be however many people own this business.
Right. It could be 4, 5, 6, 7.
If they die, the remaining owners of the business are given money to buy out the dead owners' beneficiaries from their part of the business. So I know it sounds a little bit convoluted, so I'm going to use an example. If me and Michael here own a business and we're both married with kids and I die, without a buy-sell agreement, my wife would get my portion of the business. That's how those sort of inheritance things work.
Unfortunately, Milot has 2 wives.
I do.
So
I have
we
two
have
wives,
to
8 to 12 kids.
Right.
It's a big deal, and it would be a hassle, and they'd have to get split between all of them. Well, anyway, my 2 wives aside, if Michael and I co-own a business and one of us dies, the beneficiaries would get that part of the business. So your spouse, your kids. With a buy-sell agreement, the surviving member of the partnership would be given a sum of money to buy out the other partner's remaining parts of the business.
And just to kind of replay what Austin just said there, the gravity of this is pretty immense because let's say it's a dental practice. I'm sure the spouse of the person who is the dentist or, the person that dental practice knows nothing about that industry.
Absolutely. It has nothing to do with not trusting your beneficiaries to run the business.
Right. I mean, the wife could be great, or it could be the husband. And,
the husband might not know how to run the business. If there's, a woman who runs a accounting practice with a partner, she passes away, her husband has no clue how to be an accountant.
Right.
And he's got a part of this business now, and he's a 50% owner in a two-person partnership.
Right. So, we have a general idea of what a buy-sell agreement is. So what is the structure of a buy-sell agreement? What are we...
So, essentially, you meet with a lawyer, with the partners, they draft up the document, and we'll keep it super simple here, because there's a lot of legalese that goes into it. And then the amount that's predetermined, which is, you have to do a valuation of the company to know how much you're being bought out for. That is the death benefit for the policy. So it sounds a little bit more complicated than it really is. It's basically just a legal agreement funded with life insurance.
Now, I'm sure our listeners are wondering this. When does a business need to buy a buy-sell agreement? When should they have that?
If you are in a partnership of a business, so, it could be 2 co-owners or it could be 80. Day one, you should be looking into a buy-sell agreement.
But they can still get it, though, whenever...
You can get it in theory at any point.
Right.
The best time to look for it would be sooner rather than later because you don't want to run into any issues down the road.
Right. So it's not like a business owner's 6 years into their business and
if
it's I can't get a buy-sell agreement anymore.
It's never too early to get a buy-sell agreement. You don't want to get one when it's too late, though.
So, of course, each business is worth something different. A landscaping business might be worth, let's say, $500,000, while a dental practice might be worth $1 million or, vice versa. So what is being done to value these businesses?
So the 2 big ways that I see it done are people will bring in an appraiser or they'll do a valuation formula, which there's a couple different valuation formulas. The issue becomes is that you need to build into the buy-sell agreement from the beginning how it's going to be priced. So you can't 6 years down the road when one of the partners dies all go to different methods to find the value because then there's going to be different prices for everything. You have to sort of build into the agreement at the beginning that when it comes time to sell, we're going to use this valuation method. We're going to have this appraiser from this company or we're going to use this formula to figure it out so that everybody's on the same page and you don't have potentially with, several different business owners working together, you could come up with several different prices.
This has been a question that we've talked about in other podcasts, but how many times would you say a buy-sell agreement should be revisited?
So that's a little bit of a tough question because it really depends on the business. I could throw some out there like every 5 years you should look at it. But the truth of the matter is if your business is growing, 5% a year, you don't need to reevaluate buy-sell agreement super frequently because there won't be big gains in what the business is worth. But if you're doing 5% a year, maybe every 5-8 years you should take a look at it. If you're doing something like 30-40% growth a year, you're probably needing to reevaluate the buy-sell agreement every year to make sure that everything's on board and everything's on the same page and everybody sort of knows where they stand when it comes to this legal agreement.
Well, that's some great info on buy-sell agreements. Thank you for tuning in this week into the Finance for Starters podcast. Hope to see you next week. Be sure to like and subscribe to our podcast. And if you have any questions, comments, or a topic that you'd like to be discussed in a future podcast, just, reach out to us. And
we'd be happy to take your questions and cover anything that you, the viewers, want us to go over.